What is happening, Mindful Reality family? I'm back. I mean, I guess I've been here, but a couple of things. One, I got really sick a couple of weeks ago, and two, I started my new job. So the combination of those two things had me down and also really busy. I'm still really busy, but I'm plugging in, hopping on here when I can, doing these lives when I can. I've been doing lives on my other page in between visits with clients because now I do home visits for clients. So it's a lot of moving around during the day. But anyways, I'm back. I'm 100%. I feel good. All my symptoms are gone. I'm symptom free, just out here. It snowed today here in New York City. We probably got about, I would say, a foot. We got about a foot of snow today. I did some shoveling in the morning, but it wasn't anything that stuck. It was kind of really light snow. But anyways, water cooler topic. This is basically just a check-in, honestly, more than anything. But something that I was thinking about today regarding these shows. Well, regarding my coverage of these shows specifically. I realized that last year I had a real interest, last year and the year before, I had a real interest in doing interviews. I had a big interest in doing interviews because after I did my interview with Ayana and, well, basically after I got my interview with Wes, that was the main one where I was like, okay, now I have some momentum going. And I really enjoyed that interview with Wes. I actually got two interviews with Wes, which not a lot of people can probably say. But where I lost some of my passion for doing those interviews was the process of what it took to get them. Um, it's surprisingly hard unless you are connected to somebody or part of a network, or let's say you have an in with CBS or one of these networks, one of these major networks that has a bunch of reality shows on it. Unless you have a specific in, it's very hard to get these interviews because all I do, I mean, I know a lot of other people wouldn't mention their process. I don't really care. My process was a very simple one. Just hit up their Instagram page, see if there's an email address on there. Um, Basically, shoot them an email, request the interview, tell them why I want the interview, link my page, link my other interviews, see what happens. So I would say for every 10, probably for every 10 requests that I sent out, I would get maybe 2 to 3 responses. So like 20 to 30% of the people that I would send one to, I'd get a response. And then more than half of those responses were from management team. And they would be like, okay, I'm going to review your page and then I'm going to decide, I'll get back to you. And most of the time, they never got back. The only time they would even get back is if the answer was yes. So I don't know if review the page means run it by the actual person or they just personally screen it themselves. But my guess is that I don't think there's really anything on my page for the most part, with one exception. I know why one of my interview requests was probably rejected, but all the other ones, I don't think there's anything specifically on the page that would make them turn down the interview. I think it's just the manager, whoever looks at the page and sees the amount of followers, subscribers on the page, and then kind of makes a decision from there. Like, this is not really going to do anything for my clients' career. And quite honestly, my biggest interviews, and when I say biggest, I mean in terms of the followings of the people that I was interviewing, they did not even accept those interviews based on my page. Like my Wes interview, I had been interacting with him for a while on his Patreon. My Sam interview, I met her. My Hannah interview, I met her. My Shubham interview, I met him. You know, like these were people that I got these interviews based on, I guess, just my personality and connecting with them when I saw them for the most part, except for a few of them that um like when I interviewed Ayana, I might have had a few hundred subscribers on my page, if that. So she didn't do the interview based on my page either. John Brennan, same thing. So there's no in for me, but I guess another part of it is that it feels like you have to do so much, and I am kind of like I don't even know whether to call it risk reward person, but I'm willing to go through brick walls for my causes or for things that I believe in or for the things that I want. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get those things. However, I'm also an end game type of person who thinks to myself, okay, if it takes me all this time to schedule with this person, I have to go through all these hoops. I have to do it at a time that's very inconvenient for me. And then I put the interviews up and I look at the numbers for most of those interviews. And the numbers are no greater than when I just get up here by myself and just speak. Then I say to myself, well, what was the benefit? It's cool to be able to talk to people from my favorite shows, my favorite reality shows, and dive into their seasons and see what makes them tick and why they made certain decisions. From an enjoyment standpoint, sure, I'd love to have a conversation with many of these people, but I feel like the way that things are now, a lot of people who are cast for those shows will not give you the time of day unless they take a look at your platform and feel like there's something substantial to gain. They'll interact with you social media. I've had many people respond to my social media comments. I had a few people from the challenge that DM'd me all season. They declined the interview, but they sure DM'd me. They answered every question that I asked. If I was watching an episode and I was like, what were you thinking during this time? They'll give me paragraphs of answers. But if I'm like, can you participate in an interview for my channel? Oh, hit up such and such email from such and such network, production team at thisandthis.com. And they don't hop on. But Yeah, so that's something that kind of kills enthusiasm. If I had like an assistant or something that does all the reaching out and is like, oh, Mark, we locked in this person, and I had a research team like Shannon Sharp who provides me the information and says, okay, you're interviewing Johnny Bananas today. Here's all the research that we have on Johnny Bananas. And then I go through the paperwork and get my questions together. I would do that, but the process makes it harder. The process makes it harder. One other thing that I have to admit is that sometimes meeting people from the shows kind of warps your view of them on the show in one way or another, because it can give you a bias for them or it can give you a bias against them. So I'm not going to name names, but there's certain people now who, if I saw them on the show, I would have a harder time watching them because I would be like, I know this person personally, so you know, you kind of get the bootleg friend and family experience of watching them. And then there's other people who I'm like, oh, this person was super cool when I saw them on the show. And then when I met them, they were not cool. So I don't like them anymore. There's a few people like that for me now that I really was a big fan of until I met them. And then I felt differently. Um, yeah, again, I'm not going to name names, but I have those people in mind. But, anyways, the page is going to continue regardless of whether the interviews continue or not. I'm sure that, at some point, some interviews are going to pop up, but I have not reached out to anyone since Mimi from Big Brother 25. That was the last person I tried with. And she said yes. And she gave me the email address of a CBS production that you have to run things by, and that person never responded. I followed up with her; she never responded, and that was about it for me. That was the one I was pretty excited to do, as y'all know. That was back in, I think, November last year. Um, it's still a possibility that I could run into her. One of these, maybe the Survivor party. I don't know. I've considered going to that. It's coming up. The Survivor premiere party is, I think it's next week. I think it's this upcoming week, actually. I can't remember when Survivor starts, but I believe it starts this week. So I think that's when the Survivor party is in New York. Um, yeah, but I surely would probably run into her at one of the Big Brother events, parties that Ozza has. And at that point in time, even though right now I'm saying I wouldn't really, I'm not super interested in the interview anymore, I probably would be if I saw her again. Like if I got the opportunity to actually meet her, it would reignite me wanting to do that. But as of now, I just don't have the energy to chase behind people in general, you know. But those are my thoughts. I hope everybody has a great evening. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. I have a long weekend this weekend. I'm happy about that. I don't know about y'all, but uh, if you do, have fun, be safe, and if not, just, I guess, enjoy your Sunday. All Star Sunday. All right. Have a good night, y'all.